A week ago, for the Easter Vigil at St. Peter's Basilica, a floral arrangement was set up in the piazza and just absolutely gorgeous. A floral company from Holland, for the 31st year in a row, began their planning last fall, and it took a lot of people hands on deck because they couldn't really set it up in advance. And they made an arrangement of over 35,000 plants and flowers, including tulips and hyacinths of various colors that Holland is known for. And this was all free of charge. Someone had asked the owner a few years back how much all of this cost. And he said, "When it is a gift, you do not talk about cost." Today is Divine Mercy Sunday, and we have a new image. This was a growing devotion that came out of visions or visitations St. Faustina had from Jesus, and a growing devotion in the last few decades. The nature of mercy is one of gift. You cannot demand or insist on mercy. Mercy is a gift. President Lincoln was a man known for his compassion and mercy. He carried the burden of widows and orphans. Because of the Civil War, there were a growing number as the war went on, and he made a reference to this in his second inaugural address. He, because of his compassion, would have run-ins with his generals from time to time, and one time when he visited a camp, he learned about a boy soldier who had fallen asleep on the night watch. And the rule is that this is punishable by death. Because if you fall asleep and the whole company dies because you weren't awake to warn everybody, it was considered a capital offense. Well, the president talked to the boy and then went to the generals and granted a pardon so that the boy would not be executed. And the generals are saying, how can we run a disciplined army when you have such a softy as a commander-in-chief? Well, it's hard to believe, but President Lincoln, even though we kind of know him as being this tall, slender man, between the Battle of Gettysburg and the end of the Civil War, he lost 60 pounds. Because in his mind, after Gettysburg, the war should have been over. And yet there wasn't a surrender, and it just kept grinding on. All his life he had really been a man of compassion, and when he was a young man, he took a riverboat down to New Orleans where he experienced the slave market for the first time, and he saw families who were crying as they were being sold, and they would, not as a family, but separately, and moms and dads and children being torn apart, perhaps never seeing each other again. And he told a companion, if I ever get a chance, I'm going to hit this hard. Mercy can do incredible things. And the most compassionate and merciful person ever is Jesus Christ. In fact, he doesn't just simply possess mercy, Jesus Christ is mercy. And when he looked at the world and saw how in different ways our kind of spiritual slavery, the sin that we struggle with, he knew he had to hit this hard. And he not only lost 60 pounds in the process, he lost his life. The cost of being merciful cost him his life. And yet, if we were to talk about it, Jesus would probably say, when it is a gift, you do not talk about the cost. In fact, when he told us to love, even the stranger, even the enemy, he taught us to love without counting the cost. If anyone should doubt why Jesus came and lived among us and died that horrible death and was raised from the dead, they have only to review once again what our gospel was today. It's the story of his first appearance to the apostles in the upper room where they are locked and in fear of their own lives. And imagine if you were in that upper room and perhaps feeling downcast and discouraged, not only because of what happened and transpired to Jesus whom you love, but the fact that we abandoned him too. And here we are, saving our lives selfishly, living in fear, when he had done nothing but love us. And all of a sudden, Jesus appears in the room. I think probably all of us would be thinking, if we were maybe not one of the apostles, but one of his little disciples, to think, if I could just see Jesus one more time and tell him how sorry I am. And all of a sudden, boop, there he is, giving the Spirit, and in a few words, and then he's gone. I'm like, oh, I didn't get my chance to say I'm so sorry. Oh, wait a second. Bartholomew, one of the apostles, would you please grant me absolution from my sins? Bartholomew, I have no idea what. Well, Jesus just breathed on you and gave you the Holy Spirit and said, whoever sins you forgive, they are forgiven. I abandoned Jesus out of selfishness. Please forgive me. We hear why Jesus went through all of this. Because as soon as he comes back, he imparts the Spirit and the authority to forgive sins. Now, do we have to receive God's mercy through priests and bishops, through the sacrament of reconciliation? It isn't the only way. But isn't it interesting that this is the way Jesus instituted it? This is plan A. This is, for those who can believe and accept it, a gift he has given to the priesthood, and we have the opportunity to be absolved in the sacrament of reconciliation of any sin. Jesus did not count the cost. He is divine mercy. And this afternoon, on behalf of the La Crosse Deanery, Mary Mother of the Church is hosting the Divine Mercy devotions from noon until 3:15 or so. And it gives you the chance to come whenever you want, leave whenever you need to. And while you're here, there will be extended periods of silence before the Eucharistic Lord. There will be 3 priests available to hear confessions. If you don't know much about Divine Mercy, we have more information in the bulletin. There'll be a video in the parish hall. I encourage you to at least come for whatever time that you have and to seek the Lord's mercy.